It is hard to believe that 70 years ago, on these now peaceful beaches and gentle fields, waged one of the greatest battles for liberation and freedom in the Second World War. As a child, I remember sitting at the feet of my grandparents in awe as they shared their experiences during the occupation. When I grew older, I can recall gazing upon the memorials that now stand to honor those who fought and those who paid the ultimate price. And now, I want to know more. Only hours after Pearl Harbor was attacked, the Japanese began their aerial bombardment on Guam. After 2 days, the island was lost to the Japanese invasion force and became the first American territory to fall to a foreign power since the War of 1812. Guam remained under Japanese control for 31 months, as the island was fortified and integrated into a growing network of Japan's defense in the Pacific. The local inhabitants, my people, my family, were forced into slave labor.
We found ourselves coming into a group of people recruited to, until we got there when we know what it is, that it was to move all the ammunition from Nimitz Hill, opposite of Nimitz Hill. There you see that big antenna. That is about where the ammunition were stored. We were, they handed me a couple of cannon shells, and that was heavy. I was kind of somewhat crying along the way. We were sleeping in the mud and coming down, but when I saw 4 guys tooting a big box coming down the hill, I can imagine, I already know what that's going to be like, trying to manage a big, heavy box, 4 people trying to keep it together. And not only would it hurt them, somebody, when it falls down, they'll probably get more beating from the soldiers for, not doing things right.
So much has changed. We have come a long way since then. Today we live in peace and freedom, but sadly, many in my generation have simply forgotten how all of these things we now take for granted were made possible. The day was July 21, 1944. After almost 2.5 years since the Japanese invasion on the 10th of December 1941, American forces returned. Following 3 months of intense bombardment, more than 55,000 American soldiers from the Marines, Army, Navy, Army Air Corps, and the Coast Guard stormed the beaches of Asan and Ga'an over a period of 21 days in a struggle to reclaim Guam.
The strategy of World War II is overwhelming firepower supported by overwhelming logistics. And Guam is no exception to that. The battle really began in May when the United States Navy began air raids on the Japanese air-powered Mariana Islands to destroy. First of all, you got to stop the Japanese ability to fly planes in and out of these islands and have any air power. After that's achieved, you destroyed the planes on the ground, you shot them out of the air, you destroyed the airfields. Then you begin really pre-invasion bombardment of the island, and starting with Saipan. Now, Guam was the longest pre-invasion bombardment up to that time in World War II. Nearly 2 weeks, 13 days without stop of battleships, cruisers, destroyers firing somewhere along the lines of 16,000 shells of 5-inch or bigger, huge, big ordnance. Over 3,000 air sorties, that means 3,000 separate air attacks on Guam installations. softening and destroying the defenses. A lot of those gun emplacements, like PD guns, were destroyed weeks before the invasion actually occurred, and that was the objective. And once the leaders were determined that yes, we've done enough to soften the defenses of Guam, we've done enough to destroy the identifiable defensive installations, then they launched the actual amphibious invasion, where you put the troops in the small landing craft and send them ashore. And that is, of course, begins the last phase, which is the ground battle, to literally walk over the island and take it back, inch by inch.
But the freedom of Guam came at great cost. When the American flag was raised once again over the island, the number of soldiers wounded, missing, and killed in action had risen to over 7,700, the second greatest number of casualties up to that point of the war in the Pacific. Their sacrifice made way for the many freedoms we now enjoy, and opened the door of opportunity for generations of people they would never meet. Those they saved are forever grateful. The country they served is forever inspired.